German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has lost a no-confidence vote in Parliament. It's paved the way for national snap elections, with polls indicating Germany could be headed for a right-wing shift in power.
Gerade wurde es entschieden. Der Deutsche Bundestag hat dem Bundeskanzler Olaf Scholz mit 394 Stimmen das Vertrauen entzogen. Olaf Scholz hat damit die Vertrauensfrage verloren. Bundespräsident Frank-Walter Steinmeier hat nun 21 Tage Zeit, um den Bundestag aufzulösen und damit Neuwahlen den Weg freizumachen. Schon während der Aussprache im Bundestag herrscht Wahlkampfstimmung. Scholz und Wirtschaftsminister Robert Habeck verweisen auf Erfolge der Ampelkoalition. Oppositionsführer Friedrich Merz greift Scholz direkt an und verteidigt CDU-Wahlversprechen. Den Parteien bleibt wenig Zeit, um die Wählerinnen und Wähler von sich zu überzeugen. In knapp 2 Monaten, am 23. Februar, sind Neuwahlen. Dieser kurze Wahlkampf ist besonders hart für die Kleinparteien. Sie müssen Zehntausende Unterschriften sammeln, um überhaupt bei der Bundestagswahl antreten zu dürfen. Viele sind sich nicht sicher, ob sie das schaffen werden. Am 23. Februar werden die Wählerinnen und Wähler deswegen voraussichtlich eine kleinere Auswahl haben. Anne-Frieda Müller in Berlin für Euronews.
The no-confidence vote is only the 6th in the country's post-war history.
An overnight curfew has been put in place in Mayotte starting Tuesday evening in the aftermath of Cyclone Cheeto. Dozens have died after the worst storm in nearly a century hit the French overseas territory in the Indian Ocean. Aid efforts continue as French military aircraft continue to deliver food and water daily. An airbase on the nearby Réunion Island is being used as a staging post for emergency relief supplies. Nearly 70% of Mayotte's population has been gravely affected, with entire neighborhoods reduced to rubble. The island's main hospital remains severely damaged, and a field hospital is expected to arrive on Thursday. French President Emmanuel Macron has pledged to visit Mayotte soon and to declare a national mourning period. Igor Kirillov, a top general in charge of Russia's nuclear, biological, and chemical defense forces, was killed in an explosion in Moscow. An explosive device was planted in a scooter near a residential apartment block, according to Russia's investigative committee. Kirillov was found dead alongside his assistant outside the building. Ukraine's security service was reportedly behind his death, a source in the agency told local media. It said it executed a special operation in Moscow on a legitimate target. A day before his death, Ukraine's security forces charged Kirillov with the use of banned chemical weapons in Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine. He was under sanctions from several countries, including the UK and Canada, for his role in Ukraine.
Oil stains washed up for tens of kilometers along the shore in Russia's southern Krasnodar. That is according to the region's governor. He said 260 people were deployed to handle with the aftermath, such as by cleaning the beach covered in black liquid. It came after a storm damaged 2 Russian oil tankers over the weekend, one of which broke in half and sunk. The submerged vessel was estimated to have spilled 3,700 tons of mazout into the sea, which is a low-quality heavy fuel oil. Last week, the European Union issued new sanctions against Russia and their so-called shadow fleet, which consists of old, uninsured tankers to circumvent Western restrictions. The European Union and the shipping industry previously expressed their concerns over Russia's use of the poorly maintained vessels, as they pose significant environmental as well as safety threats.
Finland is accelerating preparation for all potential conflicts, nuclear, hybrid war or even a full-scale invasion. It has a 1,300-kilometre border with Russia, although this has been closed for over a year after Russia sent over 1,000 migrants there to destabilise the country. Since then, Finland has been dealing with other warfare, such as the tampering of undersea cables, disinformation and the presence of so-called Russian shadow oil fleets, which illegally transport Russian oil, contravening Western sanctions.
The Finnish border guard has been always organization, a readiness organization, which has built its capabilities to operate in a situation like today. But of course, it is also true that, for example, the phenomenon of shadow fleet, phenomenon of GPS disturbance, and illegal immigration in the eastern borders are something that we have seen only in last years. We have seen, let's say, cable cuts, cable breakdown points, which are under criminal investigation. As I mentioned before, we also see a threat for an environmental accident in the Gulf of Finland, and one part of this is GPS disturbance, which can be seen especially in the eastern parts of Gulf of Finland.
Conscripts, which have long been part of Finland's overall security policy, are now training with the possibility that they could be defending the whole of Europe since the country joined NATO. Finland has been preparing for any war for several decades. The invasion by Russia in 1939 is something that Finns are constantly reminded of. And the key principle of this comprehensive security and defence strategy is deterrence. To deter any potential invader, in particular Russia, that this country is prepared, its society as a whole and military are well trained.
It's not aimed only towards Finland or the neighboring countries, but Russia is trying to destabilize the whole of Europe. So the whole Europe has to take this hybrid war seriously. And because Russia cannot pressure us by threatening in the way of conventional war, because we are all members of NATO, the hybrid war is the mean they use to threaten us.
Helsinki says it's now open to new EU defence spending, including defence bonds. The government says investing in European security fits in with the country's overall security strategy. Shona Murray, Euronews, Helsinki.
A large convoy of Russian military vehicles was seen withdrawing from Syria's western city of Latakia. They were headed towards the nearby city of Tartus, where the Kremlin operates a naval base. It's the third time in the span of a week that Moscow has engaged in the vacating, shifting, or movement of its military assets in the country. This has prompted claims of a potential Russian withdrawal just 1 week after their longtime ally, President Bashar al-Assad, was ousted. And the spokesman for the new transitional government in Syria, Ubaida Arnaout, has declared the country's new position.
أرى وأظن أن الدولة أو يعني روسيا أن تعيد النظر والتفكير بوجودها على التراب السوري، وكذلك تعيد النظر في المصالح، كانت مصالحهم مرتبطة بنظام الأسد المجرم.
The call for Russia's withdrawal from Syria could go a long way towards building bridges with the West. The EU announced that it had taken the first step towards making contact with the HTS since their dramatic overthrowing of Assad. And ensuring a Syrian future without Russia is high on the bloc's agenda.
It should be a condition for the new leadership that they also get rid of the Russian influence there, because it is a base where they also conduct their activities towards Africa and the southern neighbors. So this is definitely of the worry of European security as well.
The HTS say they plan to lay the foundation for a Syrian future that is built on unity and justice. But the group's history, marred with terrorist activities and accusations of human rights abuses, is leading many Western countries to tread with caution.
The Palestinian Authority has launched a rare crackdown on militant groups in the West Bank by deploying security forces to the city of Jenin. On Saturday, Palestinian security forces raided the Jenin refugee camp, a longtime militant stronghold. The operation continued through the weekend and into Monday, killing at least 2 people, 1 fighter and 1 civilian. While Israel has regularly raided areas in the West Bank, particularly since the 7 October Hamas attack, raids by the Palestinian Authority are more unusual. Such actions are unpopular with the Palestinian public, where many accuse the Palestinian security forces of collaborating with Israel.
Kyriakos Mitsotakis became the first European leader to visit Lebanon following the ceasefire with Israel. The Greek Prime Minister met with his Lebanese counterpart, Najib Mikati, and conveyed Athens' commitment to support Lebanon. He also discussed the rapid developments in Syria.
Syria needs to be inclusive, to encompass all the groups while addressing the current fragmentation of the country, because the people of Syria have also suffered a lot and must not be subjected to yet more displacement. And of course, we do hope that future stability in Syria will also permit the millions of refugees who have left the country, many of whom are actually in Lebanon, to return to their country.
Earlier, the Greek Prime Minister met with the Patriarch of Antioch and acknowledged the pivotal role of the institution in the troubled region.